Good morning. Today I wanted to talk about correlation and causation. So what I want you to do is go ahead and turn to that first page you're due now, and I want you to spend the next 30 seconds writing everything that you see wrong with this graph. Just what looks funny about this graph, what could be wrong, just anything you notice in this graph. Take those 30 seconds now. All right, what did you notice? So the graph's title right here is Stop Global Warming, Become a Pirate. Global average temperature and the number of pirates, and you can see pretty clearly that if you look over here at the average temperature, as the average temperature goes up, the number of pirates is definitely decreasing. So it seems like there's a pretty clear relationship between these two things. Now, but that doesn't really make sense, does it? It doesn't make sense that having less pirates makes our whole globe warmer. So these things, they correlate. They go together. There's obviously a trend, but they don't cause each other. And that's what we're going to be investigating a little bit deeper in this lesson. Go ahead and turn your page. Okay, let's look here at a different one to kind of think a little bit more about correlation and causation. Here you can see a bulk of data right here in the middle. One axis right here, the Y, is energy use per person. The other one is income per person, or GDP per capita. You can see as energy use increases, it looks like GDP also increases. So a few things to think about here. Is the explanation that rich people use more energy? Or does using more energy make you richer? Is there a third variable that we should be thinking about that isn't even considered here on this two-variable graph? Or is there a real relationship here at all? Do these things actually go together, or is this just a coincidence? These are some questions that we should be asking ourselves when we're thinking a little bit deeper about correlation and causation. So here's what I want you to do. I want you on your handout to answer the question, make a prediction. Do you think that being rich will make you use more energy, or is it the other way around? I want you to write a short paragraph, minimum of 3 sentences, explaining your thoughts. Go ahead and pause the video and take about 5 minutes to write that short paragraph. Okay, welcome back. Now, here on the bottom of your page, you're just going to write some generalizations about correlation and causation, just so that we can have the general idea. Now, suppose that we can observe a correlation between two things. So there's a correlation between two phenomenons, A and B. Well, do we need to know, does A cause B, or does B cause A? Or is there a third phenomenon, we'll call it C, that causes both A and B? Is correlation really just a coincidence? These are all the things that you'll have to ask yourself as you're moving into more advanced statistical studies and into your final project coming up soon. Make sure you have these notes on your page. Pause this video if you need to copy these down. Okay, let's look at another example. So we looked at the pirates and global warming. Those things obviously went together, but they didn't really cause each other. Here is a second example, income and education. Now, average annual earnings by education level in 2009. So this isn't the most up-to-date data, but it's pretty close. Now, what do you notice? Take a second to just look at this. Okay. You're all bright, and I'm sure that you noticed that there's a clear relationship that someone without a high school diploma makes only $20,000 a year, and then someone with a high school diploma makes on average $30,000 a year, and that number keeps going up as you more and more education. you can see someone with a master's degree makes more than 3 times on average than someone with no high school diploma. But where's the causation here? So does making more money make you more educated, or does having more education cause you to make more money? Which way does it go? And really, you could argue either way. So I want you to take the next 5 minutes and on your page, write that short paragraph, minimum of 3 sentences, explaining your thoughts on this. Pause the video. Okay. Welcome back. Now let's get some practice. In that last one, you were just looking at the relationship between education and the annual earnings, and I had you figure out which one you thought was causing it. Did you think the income was causing education, or did you think the education was causing income? Now, on the next page where it says practice with causation at the top, I want to go through a couple of these and see if we can find the cause. So the first one is, consider 2 events. For each, say which one you think causes the other. So eating healthy and playing pro basketball. Do you think that eating healthy causes you to play pro basketball, or playing pro basketball causes you to eat healthy? Go ahead and answer that question now. Here's the next one. Selling 500 copies of your album and singing on American Idol. I want you to write which one you think causes the other one to happen. The last one on here is going to college and being more wealthy. So making that average of that 38,000 that we just saw in the last graph. Which one causes the other? So you probably noticed in some of those that they were hard to tell. And if it's hard to tell, then it could be either way. Please write this on your page now. Great. Now we learned a little bit about correlation and we learned a little bit about causation. And so now I want to think back to that generalization slide that we looked at, where if A causes B or B causes A, or what if they don't actually cause each other at all? What if there is a third variable, C, that we didn't even think about? And that is what we call a lurking variable. Lurking variable. Now, a lurking variable is a variable that is mistakenly left out of a study or a situation, but still has some influence. Go ahead and write that definition. Okay, so here's a great example. Imagine a young boy is on an airplane who makes an observation to his mother about the seatbelt sign. You know, when you're sitting on an airplane, there's a little sign that it lights up when the plane gets bumpy, and it tells you to put your seatbelt on. So he says, I wish that they would stop turning on the seatbelt sign because it makes everything so bumpy. Because one event constantly follows the other. The boy assumes causation. He's assuming that when you turn the light on, it's making the plane bumpy. And that light coming on causes the bumpy ride. Now, is that really the case? Does the light cause the bumpy ride? Well, no. There's actually, in reality, these two variables are correlated. They go together. When the light's on, the plane is bumpy, but they both are responding to a lurking variable which the boy is unaware of. That lurking variable is called turbulence. So when the air is choppy or turbulent, the plane gets bumpy, and then the light turns on. Go ahead and summarize this on the bottom of your page. Okay. So now let's practice finding the lurking variable. So here is our first example. As ice cream sales increase, so do the deaths by drowning. So ice cream must cause drowning. Does that make sense? What is a third variable here that we're not considering? Think about it for a second. Try to write something down. Okay. So you probably have an idea of what might be causing this, but what I would write on here, and there's a couple variations for this, but I would write that what causes both of these things is warm weather. Sorry, my handwriting on this little thing is not nicer. When the weather is warm, more people are buying ice cream and more people are swimming, so drowning increases. Now let's look at the next one. The scatter plot below illustrates how the number of firefighters sent to a fire, X, is related to the amount of damage caused by a fire. Therefore, firefighters must cause more damage, right? Wrong. What's the lurking variable here? Okay, so the lurking variable in the second one is probably the size of the fire. As you have a bigger fire, more firefighters are sent, hence causing more damage. There was a lurking variable that wasn't in the graph. Okay. So now you can just summarize this here on the bottom of your page. So in statistics, and what you're going to be doing with your final project is trying to find relationships, but you need to consider this big problem, that even if you do the study and you find that there's a relationship, we can't necessarily say that one thing causes the other one. So there can be two things that go together, but we can't say that they cause each other. We can only observe correlation. So we can say two things correlate, they go together, like how many times you miss school and your grades, and as you miss more school, your grades are probably going down. So that's one example that we could think of, but we can't say that those necessarily cause each other, attendance and good grades, because it could be a lot of different things that are actually causing it, like your health or your previous experience at other school or your transportation or your childcare issues. But we can see a relationship generally that as attendance decreases, grades decrease as well. So that's all for now. What I want you to do, if you turn to the next page in your packet, you'll see that you'll be able to flip to the next thing in Canvas and continue on with this lesson. Thank you.